This is an interesting topic. What is the concept of suffering in Buddhism? And suffering itself is such a kind of a big part of why we do this practice. And maybe just to clarify some terms as we get going here. One is, and I've heard this in the West, that Buddhist direction is that the whole world is suffering, and we have to overcome all of this suffering to be a Buddha, to awake, and it's not really anywhere close to why we practice or what even the philosophy is. So the root word that people often mistranslate is dukkha. And dukkha is a wide range of things. It covers a very wide range of things. And dukkha is a lot closer to the word dissatisfaction than it is suffering. So having very horrible things happen to us, like the loss of a loved one, or being very, very sick, things happen in the world and in the universe. Things can happen to us for absolutely no reason. There's no aspect of what you deserve to have happen to you. When accidents happen, or when an earthquake happens, things like that. People don't deserve to have that to happen to them. It's just a natural course of what happens in the universe and in the world. And different levels of suffering come from that, or dissatisfaction with life come from that. Some of those can be very, very tragic. That's obviously what I would consider suffering. People are suffering through a very tragic event. Dukkha, as a term though, as dissatisfaction, can also go all the way to the other side, to say being around people that maybe you don't like being around, being in a situation that makes you uncomfortable, is also dissatisfaction. You're not satisfied with the situation that you're in, and it can cause you to not feel very well. Mental issues start to arise, and maybe you don't want to be in that situation anymore. So it's hard to put those two things into the same realm. The loss of your home and loved ones, or being in a state of war, all of these things, as is dukkha. But then also, you just didn't like the situation you're in, in a very easy way. Again, say in the Western world, dissatisfaction seems to come up all the time. If people are not happy with the service that they had at a restaurant, they're have this kind of strong response, and they have to get online and they have to complain about what experience that they had, or maybe not feeling like they're getting what they want to be able to keep up with everybody around them. They're very dissatisfied that they can't get the new phone or a better car or look better or act better. And all of these things kind of come from this idea of dukkha, of dissatisfaction. So here's the root of why we are so focused on this, because all of these things that we talk about dukkha, about having suffering, if you want to use the word suffering, are all really coming from what arises within. They're self-generated issues due to the attachment that we place on things around us, attachment to how we want things to be, how we want our life to be. Sometimes in the experience that I've had working as a monk now for, I think, 11 or 12 years, in the working with people within Sangha and counseling people, understanding that a lot of people in the West have a very specific route that they thought their life was going to be. From the time they graduate, high school, let's say, or get out of the house, whatever time frame that is, to getting involved with people in a relationship, to maybe having children or not, or their job, or they had a vision of where they thought their life was going to go, and it doesn't match up now that maybe they've gone, a decade or two. Their relationships don't really work out the way they expected it to. Their children didn't work out the way they expected it to. Their jobs don't work out the way they expected it to. They don't live the life that they wanted to be able to live. It makes them feel uncomfortable. They start to act out in different ways. They don't feel right. They don't sleep. There's all of the, stress starts to come in. There's all of these aspects that start to happen because life didn't go the way that they wanted to, which is directly attached to our outcome. Now, you can say, why does, if an earthquake hits somebody and people, die, and so they're suffering, and that's self-generated, because obviously it's not self-generated if you didn't self-generate the earthquake. But our attachment to thinking that we should have nothing ever happen to us, that somehow we're being protected by the world or the universe around us, just isn't true. When the earth moves and an earthquake happens, we're in the way more than anything. There's no force trying to make those things happen. And yes, it is very natural to suffer the loss of loved ones, to feel sad, to have this attachment that nothing bad will ever happen to us, that we're invincible, that we're immortal, that we're never going to get old, that we're never going to get sick, that people aren't going to die around us. And that's also not true. This natural aspect of impermanence that works itself into the universe, that everything is changing all the time, and that includes everything that we know and everything around us and all of our possessions and all of our friends and family and everything we know. And that may sound very dark and very, much a negative way to look at the world around you, but it can be very freeing. It can have a lot of liberation when we stop looking at everything that's happened in the world around us as directly resulting in somebody is out to get me, or that I deserve to have something go in a different way. Letting go of these attachments little by little by little, and allowing the natural course of nature and the universe around us to guide us on how we respond to things, starts to alleviate a lot of this dissatisfaction. If I don't have an attachment to have to be in competition with everybody around me all the time, it doesn't really matter to me as much that I have the car that I have, or that I live where I live, or that I don't have the latest technology in front of me all the time, or that I'm, now that I'm starting to push to the age that I am, that I'm not as young as I used to be, or that I don't look like I used to be, or I'm not in the same shape that I used to be. All of these things are self-generated dissatisfaction and suffering that I'm generating within myself. So I try to not attach to those things and allow the natural course of things to happen. And unbelievably, the result is that I'm less stressed. And I don't want for things as much. I'm way more satisfied and way more balanced by letting these things go. So when we get to the idea of just what is this concept of suffering, it's not really saying the entire world is a horrible place and everything is always going to be bad and you're going to suffer all the time. It's really more focused on what suffering are you creating within yourself due to the attachments that you have to your outcomes and the needs that you think that you need. And watching those and rethinking those and starting to maybe let some of those things go and see what the result is, and digging in a little bit of what are we causing, what did we expect to happen, and what are we not getting because of it.